de los ayuntamientos de la isla? Zapatero. ¿Qué opina usted del gobierno de Zapatero? Pues igual que yo. ¿Y qué opina usted? ¿Qué opina usted del gobierno canario? ¿Y de los ayuntamientos de la isla?
Of aerospace companies
Zapatero. ¿Qué opina usted del gobierno de
actually
Zapatero?
basic scientific knowledge not shared
Pues
with
igual
the
que yo.
academic
¿Y
world.
qué opina
It
usted?
seems
¿Qué
very
opina
wrong.
usted?
You'd be wrong, but it's true.
It is true. These are wrong. We know that there's physics held by aerospace companies that is not
Which involves topology.
Eric and I had a pretty trippy conversation with the guy that produced all of the presidents for UFOs, a guy named Hydrophobic. Eric and I had a pretty trippy conversation with the guy that produced all of the presidents for UFOs, a guy named
¿Qué opina usted del gobierno de Zapatero? Pues igual que yo.
Hello again. Thank you for indulging me as I try to learn some production values and make this a bit more entertaining with those mashups. Right now I'm just testing the mic and I will be right back if the mic is on because I'm still new. I guess what that does, the purpose of that is to set the mood before these, well, they're not lengthy, but they let's face it, it's technical, it's kind of boring, even if you're interested in it, because I'm not a professional speaker, presenter. It could be a monotone, whatnot. And I'm in a room talking to myself, so it's a little odd. And you're listening to it at some undetermined date in the future. And I don't know, it's kind of relaxing to start off that way. I think it is, I guess. I'll try. So today we're going to talk about, not that, that's the next one. And if you saw those otters chasing, acting strangely, they were chasing a butterfly. That's tomorrow. Today we're into the technical metamaterial discussion around UFOs and UAPs and the future of alternative propulsion and what we can do even if there are no UAPs or UFOs. We're just seeing things. Well, even so, we can still vastly improve upon our current way of getting around, and we can save a lot of energy and do a lot of stuff that I haven't even thought of because I'm trying to figure out how to turn the music on at the same time as unpause. Anyway, so let's get started. UFO metamaterials, anti-gravity space-time ultramaterials. Mostly we're going to talk about not ultramaterials or space-time. Just a very basic metamaterial that might change the paradigm and get things moving along in a different direction. I don't ask much, just change your entire way of life. Anyway, well, don't do that. Start slowly, the horseless carriage competes with old horses, all right? It's going to be the first one. What's it going to look like? I'm proposing a way to get the horse out of the barn. But we know what that is. We don't care about that. That's our purpose here. Today we're going to talk about, this moment. This is a Twitter moment that anyone can look at. It's linked directly below. You can click on that and you should be able to read that from whether you're signed in or have an account, whatever. It's a public web page. So let's go over it. What is it? It's a list of tweets, my tweets and other people's. You put them together and you try to tell a story. So, I'm going to start out with a basic metamaterial construction. Now, a couple of years ago, and I should add, before this UFO stuff came out again, I guess, which is, everyone's calling it the 2017, which seems about right. I was working on this since 2012. And yeah, I'm interested in the UFOs and stuff, but it got boring watching the same TV shows repeat the same stuff. So that's kind of independent of this. But then, right before that 17 stuff came out, I was, trying to push this thing as something, I don't know. Is it a startup? That's really the only way I could think of. It's an invention. It's a new idea. Well, what do you do with it? I don't know. In the meantime, I'm trying to, creativity's bursting out of me somewhat. Whether it never goes anywhere, I'm going to try something here. So I start making these diagrams. And I'm putting them on my web pages, on my website, which is linked right here and below. So, this is it's thinking, what's the basic? Okay, you build around, as far as I'm concerned, these things pump light through themselves and around themselves, making a bubble. You've probably seen some of my other videos that explain that, and these web pages and linked moments and all that stuff. So how do we start with that? Well, we start with the base of copying nature. Here's hydrogen, which does what we want. So what do? We put it in a metamaterial. We already have it in a balloon. You see that it works there. Well, let's make it work better. Make it work perfectly, ideally, optimized. And so I figured out that hydrogen, carbon nanotubes was the state of the art, might be a way to start. Not the state of the art, but could be a way to start. So here we are. Here's the second drawing there. This is all linked below. You should be looking at it close up too, hopefully. Anyway, so I'm trying to put this out there and make it understandable. So here's our spaceship here, which happens to look like a Tic Tac, which didn't come out till after I made this for some reason. This is a free image that shows a graphic arts diagram of a water bottle, which looks like a Tic Tac if you don't see the end of it. Anyway, so this thing's absorbing the light like I want it to. Here's the sun, here's the bottom of the earth there. It's pulling in this light, it's pulling it through there, and it shoots it out the back, just like a pump does. Okay? Then what's that made of? You blow it up. You blow it up to a little piece of this. It's a carbon nanotubes. What's in that? You blow that up. Oh, there's a top view of these tubes, and they're surrounded by hydrogen. And what's hydrogen look like? It looks like this thing here. That's what that is. And it shows you the light coming in and the light coming out. A lot of you guys and girls know this from physics. If you have to take it was called advanced physics. I have a bachelor's degree in engineering, and you have to take that. And people have to take it in other things, or they're just interested and they know it. But one thing they do, it's an easy thing to test people on, is these energy levels of light and heat and other radiation going through hydrogen. And that's what we show here. And then here's a little sales pitch for why nanotubes work. A listing of their properties. And I think, a lot of this, you could spend hours on all this, each one of these. This could have been on, it still might be a thing of its own, a video of its own. And it's an informal argument for anti-gravity. And I'm saying basically, take something that's lighter than air, but has all these great properties like graphene, add something that's even lighter than air, like hydrogen, stick it in there. I learned later you can attach it right to the stuff. It can float around in there loose, or it can be attached to the stuff, basically. This was later. This was in 2018. This thing came out, and it's just a little story that tells you my train of thought. And when when I came out with this thing here, 217, this first little drawing, it shows you capturing light from the universe, all this whole wavelength, the whole spectrum, and you force it through this hydrogen, which not all of it goes through, of course, and then it shoots out the back. All right. So what comes out 2 months later? The air-breathing electric propulsion from the European Space Agency. Now this is low Earth orbit, I guess, where it's pulling in air and shooting it out. Well, what I was saying before I saw that, and that's the same principle as a scramjet or those things, ramjets, I'm not sure, both maybe. And all you're doing it here is with light. Anyway, it was a happy coincidence. They call it the air breathing. I call it the light breather. Ooh, sounds cool. Might catch on. Mr. Spock tells Jim, it's a light breather, sir. Okay, primitive Earth of the year 2022. All right, so much with that. So that's how you get started on thinking about it, how I got started thinking about it. And now you're going to see a bunch of tweets about frequencies going through graphene and graphene, such as the terahertz frequency, which it's like a temperature, but it's cold. In other words, we wouldn't call it heat because to us it's not warm, but it's thought of sometimes by some people as a temperature also, but not really. I think I might have added that to the conversation. I never saw anyone do that until I did it. But it's terahertz. It's for, people think of it as communication. It's useful for that. Well, it's also useful for being what most of space is made out of. Things in that range. Pardon me. So, I keep babbling about that forever here. Signatures of tunable superconductivity in graphene moire superlattice. What that tells you is, if you can get the superconductivity running through this graphene, which is holding the hydrogen and guiding the light through, you can control the thing, etc. and so forth. And a lot of these tweets are just going over the properties of how that happens. Here, this next one is terahertz absorber based on 2 layers of periodic graphene disks. All right, so you pull it in and move it through like a pump does. And I beat that point to death. Outstanding slow light effect for graphene metasurface in terahertz. All right, it's the same thing over and over. Here we get a break on this tweet where I'm responding to NASA Ames. Now, if you know what that is, that's the Silicon Valley office of NASA, where they go pick brains from the Bay Area. And they're saying, this is our state-of-the-art thought of a wing. We got this from looking at birds. So I'm saying, hey, here's a unpeer-reviewed thought that you might want to start thinking about using photonic crystals in your wings, like some of these people, butterflies and peacocks and other birds, seem to have these metamaterial-like, if my theory is correct, etc. And other people have this too. But they're not seeing it in butterflies and they're not seeing it in peacocks. And we'll get into that tomorrow in that next video. And I'm saying that works like a metamaterial. And that's what this tweet's about. One way or another, you're moving that stuff. Light, radiation, terahertz, whatever. You're moving that through the system. This is graphene, which is graphene with hydrogen stuck right onto it. Every single atom. Perfectly efficient. That's going to move light like you wouldn't believe. That takes a solid thing and attaches it to hydrogen. Or vice versa. That's how you start building around it. Like they do with balloons and airships that use hydrogen and or helium. Same thing. But that's loose in there, like a gas. That's pointing and absorbing and emitting every which way. We want to improve upon that efficiency. Which, as you know, will take you right to space, nice and slowly. It'll take you up and down, but you have to start putting it in here in an ordered way to get what you want out of it. And that's another video of mine. It has this drawing here on the thumbnail of the video. If you want to get a look at that. And this is a gratuitous image I made to put on there. This is another tweet about how great graphene metamaterial is for broadband absorption of unpolarized light. That's exactly what we want. We want to pull in every bit of light we can get from every band. We don't care. Every and all. And that's just graphene now that we have now. This stuff exists. This is not pie in the sky. It's not used fully yet. The people out here like me are waiting for it and looking for it. And here we are. We'll find a use for that and we're going to build stuff. Because, as I say here, I think that by pumping light in space, the speed of light can be approached. True, not only are you anti-gravity, but you're literally riding on light. The more you do it, the faster you do it. You, quote, reach out and grab light with hydrogen captured in a hydrogenated graphene metamaterial, build around it and ride along. To me, I'm seeing these, think of a light ray, and that is a, say every bit of light in that ray is the same wavelength, and it just happens to be the same one of the same ones that hydrogen attached to. Anyway, it absorbs and emits. That's like a railroad track coming straight out of the sun at the speed of light saying, ride on me, ride it on in. That's what I think it does. Then you get close enough, you cut it off, you whip around the thing. You're not riding on the track anymore. You jumped off, but you're going so fast, you ride around the sun, get all that gravity, and you whip around there, and what do they call orbital people know all about it because they do it with rockets. So you just apply it with this. Anyway, so we keep going, and this tweet's about how I try to say that this thing here, this well-known UFO that the government admits to, and this one, these little images here tell you how it might work on there. It just goes through the steps. That's on other videos with this thumbnail. Go over that. There's 10 steps on here. Tells you, it's absorbed, it's pulled through. For example, use this material. Why the light works, because it's light mass equivalence, in parentheses, emitted through the skin for bubble shaping And here's a key point. Craft's mass is offset by overwhelming loss of mass equivalence. In other words, it's blowing out way more than its weight, so it floats. It's quite simply. That's really not controversial. All we're doing that is making it happen in a more efficient way. And we do that by reading things like this. The Hydrogenated Graphene User's Guide. And that's also called Graphene. Now this is a very interesting thing here. I call it the Bible when it comes to this. That's a nickname. Anyways, this is a very good article. I think it was funded by the Department of Energy. They spent some money on it for this guy. And he put his heart into it. His name is Keith E. Whitner Jr. And there's the Bible. Anything you wanted to know about that is in here. You know, anything that's known now, I guess. And it's a nice sales pitch for what I'm trying to do here. So, anyway, that's nice to know that it was out there. Because it covers all this stuff. How well it absorbs and emits. And that's all I'm trying to do. Well, you got to waveguide it through, and then, you know, emit it and absorb it and the way you want to. Not randomly, not like a balloon. I mean, that works, but we want it to work like a Tic Tac supposedly works. And a gimbal UFO. So, to continue, here's a little picture of, this is a different kind of graphene. You know, you can, if you twist it a little bit, this is chair graphene. It looks like a chair. If it's flat, it looks like a bunch of hexagons. If it's bent a little bit more, they look like boats. They call them boats and chairs and things like that. Little lingo I picked up from these guys. And you know, they can speak for themselves at some point. So, here's another article. Research teams offer insight into mid-IR graphene-based metasurfaces. Well, that's good, because we're going to pick up mid-IR and pump that too. What is that? That's kind of like heat, kind of like terahertz. You know, it's in between somewhere. You know, whatever it is, it's useful. We want it. The sun's pumping it out. So we're going to use it to float in and on. And then when we feel like really moving, we're going to ride on it. Like I said, we're going to grab onto that mid-IR. We're going to adjust our metamaterial to that wavelength. And we're going to ride on that train. And what else are we doing today here? Oh, there we go. This is a nice little image here. An animated GIF by this what do you call it? Simulation maker, simulation company, ComSol. And it shows how the waveguide through. I don't know if you can see it there on your screen, your YouTube screen, but you can see it from the tweet, and it just shows the waves coming in, going up here, going that way. So we pull them in here, we push it through the machine, this Tic Tac skin, and we blow it out there. Hey, I want to make a hard right 90-degree turn and get rid of Commander Fravor and blow his doors off and go meet him somewhere else before he even thinks about going there. So I'm going to do that by pulling it in, pushing it through, and blowing it out this side. Easy. Just like the advanced submarines do it with pumps. It's like a jet ski, only you're using light. And the next thing we talk about is, yes, how important. Well, this is going to be our big. Today's space propulsion, we use thrust. And here we're going to use flux. And we're going to, our favorite, well, so we go to this page here, this Wikipedia page, and it shows us our favorite units. Radiant flux is probably going to be the top unit. Just my guess. If this goes away, I think it should. It'll be so far out of my hands so fast, I won't know what happened. And engineers will be designing around this stuff. Radiant exposure per joule per square, whatever it is. Radiant excitants. Hemispherical emissivity for your bubbles. Spectral hemispheric, it's got every different way to measure this stuff. Just like thrust has, you can measure it in seconds or foot-pounds or newtons or whatever you want. And this is our future here. These are our future units. In this graph here, this shows you how the atomic elements, just in their natural state before we put them into metamaterials, what's the best bang for the buck? What's this big blue one here? That's element 1. What's that? Oh, hydrogen. So this shows you the gases, how good they are or bad they are. And then these bands are interesting. Gotta wonder, how do they add up? And anyway, that's, you can see some of this stuff is not going to work at all. And that's just a general statement. When I saw that, it made me happy because it showed me something I was thinking about for months and years. All right, this is a gratuitous picture. I just liked it. Topological, oh, that's why. Because I don't care too much about lasers, but the topological insulator that moves light, they're doing what we're planning on doing, but they're just using a laser here. In other words, they control it. They zap this stuff here, and it lets so much light in or out. In this case, the lasers are going out. You turn them on and off, and it says it makes 30 emit as 1. So that's highly efficient. That's the sort of thing we're looking at. Plus, I like the picture. This is Vantablack, which is a version of graphene that's very absorbent of light. 99.965%. There's something better than that now, but I mean, if that doesn't tell you, you want to look into that to start with these pumping light bubbles. I think that's a hint. Mother Nature's staring you in the face. So the next tweet is about how that works on these theoretical black triangles. That's convenient. The whole thing's black all the time. I think, maybe like a tic-tac, they flash on and off. Someone said they flash black sometimes. Like a thing like this, you can see, well, okay, it's all going in there, getting waveguided through and blowing out here. And it's blowing out around it too. But since it's visible light, your eyes don't notice it because it looks normal, because it is normal. These people just know how to use normal better. Alleged people. I don't have any clue. Let's see, this thing here. Oh, and this shows you how the same stuff that absorbs 99% of that light also goes right in the water. It's hydrophobic. It refuses to interact in any way, just like this thing supposedly does. And this, you can find this just by looking at YouTube. What if you put a little effort into it? Pardon me, I mean, that's a bubble of some sort around it. Is it sucking the light so hard out of this water that no water can get near it because it's at bay, so to speak? these bigger photons here, visible light photons and heat. They're much bigger than the water molecules. So they just push it right out of the way. Stay back. This is our little area here. It's called a light bubble, which is also hydrophobic conveniently. Anyway, I'm speculating a little there, but probably mostly right like usual. This video here, that's just an image of the video. I couldn't find anywhere where it was linked where you could, well, what you have to do is go to their website. These people want you to look at their product or look at their experiment, whatever it is. And it just shows you how this is a thing, this is aluminum, which should sink in water, right? So this coating with Vantablack made it float. See how that's something we want? I think you do. If you followed this far, then you're getting the drift. And here's another version, another view of it from Advanced Science News, which they did an article here at this link showing here's brand X, and here's how you do it the right way. That's why that thing goes right through the water. Here's brand X over here. So the next tweet's what is it? Oh, it's just a cool looking water, large jets and super hydrophobic surfaces in low gravity. All right, do it in regular gravity. Do it everywhere else. I don't know how they screwed around with the gravity. I don't, you know, I don't remember exactly what was going on there. But that sure looks like a thing whipping through the water, doesn't it? Doesn't it, you government secret keepers? I bet you've seen that before. Well, this is how you get at it. Jets of super hydrophobic surfaces. And I just showed you what those are and how those might work and all that stuff. This is a gratuitous thing I made on a rainy day. It just shows waves moving. This is how I envision these surfaces. If you could see it, it would look like that. That's the sort of thing. Sometimes I have to make those so I don't think I'm losing my marbles. Now, I think we changed gear here a little bit. Oh, this is back to the terahertz tales, which will be another video and is a moment, probably linked below. And this shows how purported metamaterials from crashes that look like terahertz waveguides should be tested. I wonder if they ever did it. That bunch seems very quiet. It's an entertainment company now, so, you know, just forget about that and go away. Us CIA guys are not interested in making the thing actually float like it should. Now we changed our mind about that. Maybe, I don't know. Or we just keep them quiet because this moron on Twitter figured it out. Now we can't let that get out yet. It will eventually. I know it, you know it. Anyway. So, yeah, I'd rather that good guys have it, but, you know, I don't know. The private sector's pretty good too here. You know, we elected you, remember? Anyway, so then what happened? This tweet. Oh, it's more trying to suggest to these people what they should do with it, the TTSA and all that. And maybe they did it and it worked. We don't know. Or maybe it's dead wrong. We don't know. One more tinfoil hat. Who cares? So, the next tweet is about, oh, this is just some cool little drawings of, or not drawings, images from the lab that shows this stuff spiraling through the metamaterial. Wow. Cool. And what that would be is a piece of space, not space-time, the stuff that's in there, this terahertz, which is a cold temperature you feel. How do we pull that through our metamaterial? That looks like a photon there, huh? Now it's whizzing. When you make the right metamaterial, you're pulling that right through that stuff. Isn't that fun? So that's a good picture of it. And then here's another angle of, they stacked the graphene disc stacked by a wideband terahertz absorber. There's another way of doing it. Everybody wants into the act because they think it's going to be for the next generation of phones. Although these are scientists, they're just doing it to, whatever. Whoever uses it, uses it. So, but the only way they're using it now that I know of is a way they're going to be not using so much later because they're using it for this. But wouldn't it be interesting if you could talk on the same thing? I think you're going to have multi-levels of functionality, but that's beyond the scope of this talk. So, and here's another tweet about the broadband absorber using anisotropic two-dimensional materials. What it is, I don't know exactly, but it's all down to the metamaterials. Doesn't have to be graphene or graphene, but that's a good place to start. Like this tweet here tells you. Here it is, right there in graphene. Nice little picture of the stuff coming in, going through, going out, goes this way, that way. If you're not using it for signaling, or you could maybe find another use. And here's more fooling around. This one turned out better than the other one. And this is how I visualize these things. Here it is coming through. We're pulling in this ambient light and we're pushing it through and then out. So that's what that's supposed to be. Here's another tweet showing the metamaterial, the terahertz whipping through the graphene, and that's doped up with silicon oxide, which is another thing that works pretty well on its own for waveguiding even without the graphene. So you start combining this stuff, find out which works better for what, and then you graduate maybe. Then maybe you're up to the bismuth magnesium. I don't know. What a mystery. So, and then you come up with little stuff, things like this. They move light in, through, and around. In, through, and around. And then you can recycle your own light. So you're in your own little bubble here. You're not always pulling in fresh light and spewing out waste. You just keep it going around here. And you save, probably running a AAA battery anyway. Maybe even a car battery, I don't know. But you don't need all that juice wasted. The next tweet here is where I start to propose an experiment on how to do that to the APEC guys and alien scientists and Elon Musk. I think tagged onto one of his tweets somehow, and I show the basic stuff here, and we'll get around to doing it. I'm going to get on there. That's why I'm going to ask to go on there, and I'm going to that's what I'm doing now, is getting over my stage fright and building up my chops with the YouTube stuff and the Zoom stuff. And I want to be able to be on there and be able to show a picture and not be going, I'm nervous. So, continuing, we have, this guy here, this scientist, I think he's from, I want to say Penn out in Philly. He found some material that floats in some certain conditions, which is the mesosphere. In other words, he stumbled upon this thing. Yeah, University of Pennsylvania, graduate student, Moshe Azadi, wrote a paper and it got picked up by some science, pardon me, websites, and it's cool. I'll show you a better video than these. It's on a different tweet. And so he's found the general principle here. A lot of people have, they just don't recognize the potential of it, in my opinion. And he's saying, look how cool this is. This will float around the mesosphere. And then I saw somebody, another PhD type, attack this guy, saying that's useless. That's only going to be for the thin layer of the, well, just brutally. I thought, I'm glad I'm not in that business of science. Because, well, let's see. Let's find that decent video of it. Alright, that's that same article. And here I am. When I saw it, I'm like, wow, that's... I thought the gig was up. But it is a little bit. Like I said, I don't think they know what they're looking at. Here's a good little video here. A little GIF showing it. See that stuff? See it zipping around there? Whee! Let's see if I can blow that up. I can't. Anyway, that's linked right below. You can look at that later. And he's making this thing go around, and this is the conditions of the mesosphere. I don't know if that's graphene or what the heck it is. But here I am, so I'm saying that's no, it looks magic. Somebody said, wow, that's magic. Well, it's no more, quoting myself, that's no more magic than a common Dollar Tree balloon, chunk of floating street graphene, which is what you make if you're not a science, you're not at a university. You just make it yourself, which I'm going to try to get these guys to get interested in. And I do it myself right now, but I'm afraid to mess around with hydrogen. The alien scientist and his pals at APEC, they are fearless compared to me. And they have a regular lab. And I talked to them about it, and they're confident they could probably do something. So we will. Once I get my act together and on there. Yes, so it's no more magic than an 80,000 mile an hour tic tac or any cloud in the sky. It's all the same principle. That's what I'm trying to say with that smart alecky tweet. So they look like two tic tacs in a courting ritual, don't they? Yeah. And I think we're winding to the end. Yeah. And I'm saying, ooh, look. You could make an umbrella out of it. You could make a Mary Poppins umbrella floating around. You're not in the mesosphere. You're just down here in the London atmosphere. And if you follow these principles, yeah, you'll have your jetpacks and stuff. I don't think in anyone listening's lifetime, anyone listening to the premiere, that is. Because these first models, this is going to put her into... rip her arm off and then put her into taking it outer space. So it's going to be a long, slow haul until this stuff gets up to speed. So, if the Chinese know about it 5 minutes after we do, it's going to make any difference? I don't know. All I know is what happened with the atomic bomb. And that was trickier than this. This is something right in front of our faces. Anyway, well, we'll see what happens. Or we won't. I won't be around. Anyway, here's another tweet. another metasurface for terahertz waves, and this shows what it's useful for. Holograms, focusing, active controlling. Yeah, you're gonna find out. Special beams. Yeah, the entirety of space is made of stuff in and around terahertz. Okay. Polarization modulation. Yeah, well, that stuff in space is all disordered. So you run it through one of these, it straightens it out. Then you set it through the next layer of layers of layers. But yeah, you're going to need a polarizer first. And all that does is make the light go in the same direction, in case it isn't. These terahertz waves are not in like nice rays like, at least I don't think so. I don't, talk to somebody else about that. Some of them are in some places, I suppose, but mostly not. It's just disorderly space. So you straighten it out with a polarization modulation. Yeah, that's it. Sure, you just straighten them out, and then this one looks straightened out. See how they're coming in here all different angles on this goofy thing? Well, that thing straightens them out. It's got a surface for every which way you need. See? That'll work just fine. Now, then we go on to we're back to hydrogenated graphene again. Yeah, okay. So, yeah, we're going to make that in a street corner lab and a shady side of, well, that's not shady, it's nice. Hawthorne, New Jersey. When they make the movie about that lab, Falcon Space Lab, with Mark Sokol, they'll put it in a dark alley, but it's North Jersey. I used to live up there. Fond memories. It's got some grit, but Hollywood will have to add more grit. Anyway, here we are. Here's a picture of my little piece of graphene. And I'm saying, you take a thing like this, comes in a box like that, a little jewel box. It's like 1/4 of the size of a CD thing, I guess. And here's your little narrow piece of graphene. And you take it to a lab like in Jersey, and they have enough courage to soak that in hydrogen. I don't want to blow up the house here. I had a tree fall on it. Look at this. Whack, whack. That was just today. Tree falls on the garage. Not cool. Anyway. So we don't want to blow up the other part. It might have dented the roof too. I don't know. So, yeah. So we're going to do that in a bit of a more orderly fashion than I want to do it. Okay. And plus they'll film it and everything else. And once they get hooked on it, they got hundreds of followers, thousands. Alien Scientist has 100,000 YouTube followers. What if everyone started making these at home? Pretty soon somebody's going to be, well, they're going to develop it. So, it'll be a hobby for everybody. When I was a kid, everyone was flying electric airplanes and stuff. Now they're doing drones. So, you make some of that, stick it on your drone. Somebody will do that and they'll say, hey, my drone's outlasting its battery. How about that? Is that peer reviewable? I don't care. It works. So, back to the peer reviewables. Because we need them. I make fun of them sometimes, but here we are. Here's a peer-reviewed thing where they have a dielectric slab with a THZ plane wave going through a finite number of graphene strips. It sounds like what we're talking about here. If it's dielectric, you can control the thing. Zap it this way, wave a magnet around it, whatever it is. Hit it higher, hit it lower. It's going to absorb or emit or do nothing. Or move it within it. And that's what we want. And this thing here, the next one, high rapid prototyping technique for terahertz metallic metasurfaces. They're doing this stuff so fast, it's amazing. And it's going to come over. They don't know about this application yet. You do, because you listen to me. Like and subscribe. Follow me on Twitter. Make me an offer I can't refuse for a startup. You'll get around to it. Where are we? Electrical tunability of terahertz nonlinearity in graphene. Well, I think, matter of fact, it looks like a duplicate tweet almost, but that shows you how, what that means is you can make different kinds of terahertz whip through this graphene, which is on the skin of our spaceship. Wow. Pulling it through photon by photon, polarizing it like we just saw, absorbing it, moving it through the waveguide, and then blowing it out the blowhole like this. That's what these look like to me. Now it could be a warp object, or it could be your own lying eyes, but it could be. I don't know. I'm biased. Of course I am. But it could be something else. I know that. It could be even generating gravity like, what's his name? Lazar says, whatever. Who knows? But if I'm right, then I would have done this correctly in this last tweet from our friend Bryan Keating. And he quotes Schopenhauer in an animated GIF that doesn't move. Look at that face. Oh no, he does. He blinks. And he says, quote, "The task is not so much to see what no one has yet seen, but to think what nobody has thought about that which everybody sees." And I think that's what I'm doing here. Because no one is optimizing, quote unquote, what they call buoyancy. And that's covered in other earlier videos and stuff. So I'm saying it's right there, it's obvious, take advantage of it, etc. and so forth. Broken Record Kelly. So now I'm going to pause for the outro. Thank you for paying attention.